Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today's video is based off of a viewer suggestion, and it's from one of the comments from Dave Lewis. He says, "Hey Rich, any chance you can do an in-depth review of your studio desk and everything you use on it, including the racked kit, speakers, and how it's all wired together for your everyday use? I think people would find it interesting. That's what we're doing today, guys. The studio desk tour. Hopefully I can give you guys enough information to help you if you run a small studio or are putting one together or have any questions. I run a pretty simple setup. I don't have like a console. It's just a mixing board and some mic preamps and a bunch of monitors you see behind me. Probably too many monitors, but I like having those. Anyway, guys, here we go. This is the studio desk tour. Let's do it. All right, guys, so here's the desk. The desk itself was built for me by my brother-in-law. They asked me to play my niece's or my wife's niece's wedding, but really they just ended up wanting me to DJ it, and so instead of having him pay me, he's really good at building like furniture and just really good with wood, so I had him build me this desk, and that's where the desk came from. My brother-in-law built this for me. And starting over on the right hand side, I do have some racked gear in here. If you notice on the right side, I just have some printed this isn't real gear here. This is just a dust cover because I didn't want to buy any dust covers that were like $10 a smack on Amazon or whatever. But on the left I have, and if you've watched my full studio tour, I think I did this year, you'll see some of this stuff on there. But the main preamps I use in my studio are this Neve and this API. This preamp's called a Golden Age, and then I have a Focusrite. And on the desk, I'll just talk about all the preamps I have first. On the desk I have a ART Pro Mic Preamp 2, MPA 2, and a Joe Meek VC1Q, which was like the first preamp I ever bought. And it has an optical compressor in it and a bunch of features, EQ. This is like a channel strip in a box type of thing, this Joe Meek. And I only have one like real channel strip in a box I bought. The rest of them are just like mic pre's. Like down here I have the white mic pre you see on the left is actually a Neve 511, and then that goes into an a compressor by DBX, and then an EQ. And then the last preamp you see in this little rack is an API 512. I use that a lot for mic'd up guitars, as well as the Neve. When I'm micing stuff, I will use that. When you guys hear stuff direct, like from Helix and stuff, I'm going directly into my Focusrite or this red preamp, this Golden Age Pre-73. I sometimes have gone into this API has a input on the front, and I've sometimes done that, but I feel like the Focusrite just gets a more transparent sound. In here I use this a lot. If I don't have something recorded into my computer, or if I can't download something, I will record it into my computer using this little RCA cable, so straight from whatever website I'm using. And right now I've actually got Helix on the desk. By the way, all these mic pre's are all wired to a snake that's going out to my control room. And the DIs are wired separately, some of them. I think the mic Pre 73 has the DI is the same cord as the mic, or as the XLR, if that makes sense. But the DI from the Focusrite, you can have a DI going. So I'll have a DI going from Helix, and then I'll also use the microphone. When you guys are hearing my voice, usually when I'm doing a guitar demo, I'm using a shotgun mic, and it's going into a mic pre on this side, and then the guitar is going into this. So this mic pre is like does double duty. But that also, this mic pre also has a I've got a splitter on this, so I can do a mic input from this in the control room and a mic input from out there. I just have to make sure they're not both plugged in at the same time, or I'll get two mics going on, recording two mics into one source at the same time. On the desk is my Helix, and I usually run this out in stereo, right, either into my board for if I'm practicing, or directly, like I said, into that mic pre for recording. This board, honestly, I bought this a few years ago. This is just a Behringer like mixing board, and I have these XLRs. These XLRs go out to these white Yamaha HS5s, I think they're called. And then there's a couple cords down in here too. These run out, these are monitor outs as well, and they go to these rockets. Then, if you see these XLRs, these actually go out to a little AB switcher that you can see on the desk. It's back here. There's just there's a couple buttons, and I can either turn on these event monitors, which I use a lot, or these little bookshelf monitors, which are just consumer grade monitors. They kind of like how it would sound like just on a stereo in your home, because they're not flat. They don't have a flat frequency response, if that makes sense. The Rockets and the HS5s are both powered monitors, and for the events, I just have a JVC old home theater system power amp, and when I'm practicing, I just have those events on most of the time. What's nice is if I plugged into this board, it has two things of effects that I can just dial in on each channel. So if I want a reverb and a delay, or whatever effects this thing has, and EQ. The way I have this run is, if you guys notice, I have a Amazon Alexa on here. So if I wanted to, Alexa, what's the weather going to be like tomorrow?
Here's the forecast for tomorrow in Orem. Look for partly sunny weather with a high of 44 degrees Fahrenheit
Alexa,
and a low of 27.
Stop. I don't know why, but for some reason my Alexa thinks I live in Orem, Utah, and I don't. Alexa, what's the weather going to be like in Perry, Utah tomorrow?
Here's the forecast for tomorrow in Perry, Utah. Look for mostly sunny weather with a high of 44 degrees Fahrenheit and a low of 24 degrees.
Alexa, stop. Anyway, if I want to just play something real quick, I can connect Bluetooth from that, and that goes into a channel on my board. My Alexa does. My studio monitors, or my computer, goes into this channel right here. So if I'm mixing or hearing anything on my computer, this fader has to be up. This red cord here goes to my headphone. It's a headphone out that goes to my headphone splitter or preamp. It's got 4 different headphones I can split off of that. And there's a talkback button right here. So if I want to, I have headphones running out into the control room. So if I want to talk to someone out there, like a drummer or someone that's just out there singing or recording guitar, I push this red button and they can hear me in their headphones. And if you notice, when I'm talking, you can see the levels going up. I don't have it cranked. If I had it cranked, it would be... I had it cranked once and someone's like, dude, you are so loud in the headphones. And so I dialed it back. I do run a sub off of this, and this thing controls the sub. It just comes off of an auxiliary off of my board. I think it's this mono out right here. Yeah, so I'm running a mono out down to, this is just a consumer, like a consumer sub from some computer speakers, and it has an input on the back, and so I just flip it on when I want to sub. And I don't need a whole ton of, because this room's so small, I don't need a whole ton of sub woofer going on. Honestly, this board is mostly just a monitor for me to hear everything I'm doing. So sub, Talkback, computer, Alexa, and then all these other channels I just plug. From time to time I'll just plug in guitars, or if I'm teaching I'll plug a couple guitar inputs in, sometimes in stereo. And that's it. All of these, every single preamp you see on my desk has a snake. It runs from a snake out in my control room. But they also have, like this ART preamp, it has 2 front instrument inputs on it. So right over here is my keyboard, and I just run a couple of lines out of the back here, and those just run into my keyboard. And all those mic pre's go to this interface right here, this blue one on the bottom. And this blue interface, this blue interface on the bottom is just an old PreSonus, and because I use high-end mic pre's, well, most of them are pretty high-end, the front end of the mic pre I set to 0. So if I am running mic pre's into this, all of the gains are set to 0, which is just line level. So the mic pre that you are hearing, or the sound you're hearing, completely comes from the mic pre. It doesn't have any coloration from the interface. I think that's how it works. Anyway, so each one of these, like this is my Focusrite, this is my API, this is my Neve, this is my Focusrite mic pre, this is the Focusrite DI, this is the Golden Age mic pre, this is the ART mic pre, left and right stereo. It's a dual preamp. This is the Joe Meek, and up here is an old Behringer mic pre I used to use. It's a tube mic pre, and I used to have that running to channel 7 and 8 on my PreSonus, and that may have been the first mic pre I ever bought. It's a dual channel mic pre, and it actually sounds like just amazing, and it actually has EQs and low cuts and high pass filters each side. I mean, it's actually, like, for what you pay for that mic, this mic pre, Behringer, they do some stuff right, and this is one of the things they did right. Below that is a Behringer, it's called a multicom. It's got 4 channels of compressor / limiter, which I use sometimes for recording into my computer if I want that kind of thing. Sometimes I'll compress the piano or the keyboard, or sometimes just whatever. I have it right now. I have it set up to where I just kind of like it, and I don't really move a lot of stuff, which makes recording and everything incredibly convenient. Below that, this is called the Digimax 8. These are pretty old interfaces, but it doesn't interface to me. I mean, I know they talk about how I guess the clock and all that kind of stuff really matters a lot more. I've never really noticed. Like, I get really good sound quality out of these old interfaces, and it doesn't really bother me that these are probably like 7 years old or something or more. The Digimax D8 is an ADAT connection from it into my PreSonus audio box, which is the bottom one here. So this has 8 channels of mic pre in it that sync to this. So I have 16 channels of mic pre, and then I also have 2 channels on this of SPDIF, and I can use that as well. So I have like 16. I have almost 20 channels with all the inputs you have on these. But what I do with the Digimax is it's all my drums. So I have kick, snare, toms, overheads, and then sometimes I will actually, well, most of the time I'll use my better preamps for kick and snare off of this, off of down here. So I'm just mostly using this for like an out kick, a bottom snare, toms, and overheads. And I may upgrade that someday, but right now, for the sounds I get, if you guys go to my website, richbischoff.com, you can listen to studio samples under Studio 14, and everything you could hear on that has been recorded through this gear, through all these mic pre's, through the microphones that I own. Anyway, on the bottom here I have an old Yamaha tape deck, so sometimes people want me to take old tapes and put them on CD or just digitize them and email them an MP3 or whatever they want. And so I have that old tape deck, but I also own a bunch of tapes, so if I ever need to do any of my own digitizing from my tapes, I can use that. This JVC DVD player I just use as a CD player. And then I have this 11 rack, which is actually hooked up into my little board here. But it's also hooked through the digital SPDIF connection into my computer. So all I have to do is plug in, pull that connection up in my DAW, and I'm good to go. Above that is the Antares Auto Tune. I don't even use this anymore. So if you know anyone that's in the market for an outboard auto tune, I may hold on to it, I don't know. Outboard auto tune processor. And then above that is just my power conditioner, 1800 watts capacity by Pile. Just a cheap thing I bought on Amazon. What you'll see in my studio is a lot of like affordable stuff mixed in with higher end stuff. When I've found that it's time to upgrade, I will slip in something that's a little more high end here and there, because I know that it just helps with the sound quality of what I'm doing. This little Zoom mixer you see on my desk is actually a little digital recorder that records directly to SD cards, and it can record up to 24 tracks. It can only record 8 tracks at a time, but you can record 24 tracks, so it's actually kind of like a little mini studio. I use it a lot for mobile recording. In fact, I'll take out just a bunch of mics and separately mic the band sometimes from the sound guy, so there'll be like 2 mics running on everything. I'll have splitter cables going off of mic cords for vocals and stuff like that. What else? Oh, and I think I have it pulled up for, let me see what we have. Yeah, so this is just an old recording of one of my old bands. Let's see.
Get out on the door. You're playing cool music on the bathroom floor. You're telling your laughter what you did.
Anyway, I use that for mobile recording if I'm doing that kind of thing. What else can I tell you guys about the desk? It's kind of just been an amalgamation of bringing things in here and there from over the years. I used to just have this old desk that I bought from like Office Depot that didn't really look like a studio desk, and so that's when I had my brother-in-law make me this. And if you look right here down in the corner, you can see those 2 really fat cables are snakes. So I have an 8-channel snake by my drum set, and then I have an 8-channel snake across the room from that. And then I have wired all those cords together. And in fact, there's a bunch of smaller cables that run to headphone leads so that people can have headphones out in the control room. A lot of this was in my studio video I did, but if I do another studio tour in a few years or something, I'll show you guys that. My computer, you may be wondering where that's at. I am running just this laptop on this little table under my desk. I've got some storage down there, and my iLock, and everything I do is pretty much just USB stuff. More storage. Kind of a mess, kind of embarrassing to look under the desk. I need to get back here and do some tidying up of stuff. I do have a bunch of CDs from back in the day when CDs actually used to be a thing, a bunch of blank CDs. If people ever ask for that, I still have a way that I can burn them a CD, which is kind of convenient. I don't know what to tell you guys. The stuff on the bottom here, I didn't show you guys this, but this down here is an old Ibanez analog delay. It's got a delay, a doubler, a flanger, a stereo chorus, and a normal, and I don't remember what the normal does, but it actually sounds really, really cool. There's some crazy stuff you can do with this. I should probably use it more for coming up with more original ideas. These three things here, these are my brother's, and I don't use these. One is an Aphex Oral Exciter Type B, and I think you're supposed to, I think you can use it to put in like as an insert on your preamps, like for recording drums or when you mix, but I have not really, or on vocals, to give it like more of like this sheeny high-end, I don't know, I have never really used it. The other two is an Aphex, I think it's kind of the same thing, it's called a Tube Essence. It's supposed to, like, when digital first started happening with computers and DAWs and standalone DAWs, all these companies were coming out with like preamps that were supposed to emulate like tubes and mic pre's, and I think this Aphex is kind of one of those. And then below that is an Antares APV1, which is another vocal like processor that also has auto-tune in it, and it has just different presets for recording vocals. I've never used this, it's my brother's. I probably should pull it out and see what it does, but I'm so in love with just my normal mic pre's that sound so good, and that's have been used, these kind of mic pre's have been used on so many different recordings, you know, hundreds and thousands of recordings over the years, that I tend to just go with this kind of stuff here. I don't know what else to tell you guys. Monitors, the one above that is just an HDMI cable for that, and then this is just a regular standard monitor cable to my laptop. This little studio arm mic, I've been thinking about doing some live streaming, but I just don't feel like my channel's big enough to draw in enough people to want to see me live stream. And in fact, I went out and bought this little setup here. It's an iRig, so I can record from my console or my desk. I can record from this mixer right into my phone for live streaming. And I've tried it, and it sounds pretty dang good. And I can run a separate vocal mic into the mixer and my Helix. That way you guys can hear like really good audio and from the vocals, from my voice, and also from the board from Helix or whatever process I'm using, or mics. I can mic an amp. That's about it. And then the action figures are just, my mom had my old Star Wars stuff at the house, and one day she said she didn't know what to do with it, so I just went and got it, and I just put them out on the desk. I'm not like a huge Star Wars fan, but back in the day I was. When I was a little kid, I loved it. I was obsessed. That's it as far as wiring this thing up. Just everything goes into these two interfaces. The drums, most of the drums go into that top Digimax D8, and then the bottom one, all those mic pre's go into this PreSonus Audio Box 1818 VSL. Most everything is set to flat or to 0 because I'm running external mic pre's, and that's what you guys, if you're going to do this, that's what you need to do. Helix is only on the desk because I've just been doing a lot of production, and it's just nice to just be able to like have it right there at the tip of my fingers while I'm sitting here recording for clients. Guitar parts and bass parts, just dialing it in right there on the desk. Oh, also right here, this is just a fader port. This is so that I can manually push play and rewind on my DAW. I can also use the fader to automate channels, and you can automate more than one at a time. Not separately automate them, but you can like, you know, select them both and like move 2 guitar channels, like a stereo, right and left stereo track up and down, or like 2 different drum buses up and down in your DAW. A lot of this might be studio jargon that some of you guys don't know about. I know a ton about studio stuff because that's more of what I was doing before I started my guitar YouTube channel. I was recording and producing bands up at college and just here and there, and my own bands before I really started focusing on YouTube and guitars. Oh, I guess I should also talk about like my MIDI stuff. So this keyboard is hooked up to my interface so that I can use virtual instruments in my DAW. I also have a MIDI cord that comes from my electric drum set out here that controls like programs like Easy Drummer, Slate Drums, any kind of virtual drum system that you have as a program on your computer. I can control it from the module on my electronic drum kit, which is kind of cool. I don't use it a ton because I mostly do acoustic drum recording, but if I need some cool electronic sounds, I will plug that in and use it sometimes. Alright guys, so that's pretty much it for the studio desk. I've probably missed something that you have questions on. Let me know in the comments what you would like to know about the setup. Anything that you can think of, I'll be happy to answer questions down below in the comments. If you're new to my channel and you're watching this, I don't know why you'd be. It's not really a product video. I mean, it has products in it, but it probably won't get a ton of views. So if you would, those of you that watch it, if you'd give it a thumbs up or a like, that would help me out. If you're new here, again, subscribe and hit that bell that notifies you of new videos, and we will see you guys at the next video. Adios. Bye.